Welcome to Scorched Earth and a general reading for the sign of Gemini, Sun, Moon or Ascendant for the month of July 2025. I hope you're well. Happy birthday season to you and all of that. I'm using the Night Sun Tarot for you today. It's been coming out for all of the signs so far this month, which is interesting. Anywho, before we begin, if the radio, hello. If the reading resonates with you and you'd like to go a little bit deeper, there will be an extended that you can access at the end. That's via the link in the description box that takes you to Selfie. Alternatively, you can come join us over on Circle. You can get access to all of the extended content that I do every month. So that's all the monthly readings for all of the signs, plus the weekly energy reads that we have over there. You can come participate in the live classes that we run over there too. And just hang out with a truly extraordinary group of people. I mean, they are really quite exquisite. If that sounds like it might be of interest to you, the link for that is also in the description box below. Right, Gemini, let's flip things around and get stuck in. Can I have 3 cards for Gemini, please? Oh, there's the first one. Right, I'm just going to use this little stone puppy here. We have the Star. It's a card of Aquarius in the Major Arcana. What about current energy for Gemini, please? We have the Judgment card and we have the Ace of Swords. Now they did kind of fall out sideways a little bit like that, but I feel like that's where I want it to be. And that's like not like me. Carrie doesn't want them to be there. It's like intuitively I feel like that's the way they need to be. What about what's coming towards Gemini, please? Wow. Okay, so we have the 2 of Swords on its side and we have the 10 of Wands at the bottom of the deck. I quite like that 10 of Wands, but we'll get into that in a second. So let's give this a little bit of a shuffle here. Shall we give it a proper shuffle? Let's give it a proper shuffle. Oh, she says she cocked it up. Anywho, right, let's get some clarifiers down here. Why is the Star here for Gemini, please? Ooh, we have the 2 of Pentacles. Jupiter in Capricorn, that we have the 10 of Cups. Interesting. What about the Judgment card and the Ace of Swords? We have the Wheel of Fortune. We have the 2 of Swords in the upright. And let's get one more, please. Ooh, thank you. Do you know, I fucking knew this card was coming out. I actually felt it before this one came out and I thought, that's interesting. It's going to come out under these 3 here. The reason why I find that interesting is because this version of the High Priestess, for some reason that I have not in 2 years been able to put my finger on, feels very Gemini-like to me rather than Pisces. I can't really explain it any better than that, but when I see it, I immediately think Gemini. Tell me about the 2 of Swords. We have the Queen of Wands on its side. And we have the 3 of Wands with the 6 of Wands at the bottom of the deck. Now, I understand if you might be looking at these cards here and going, ugh. Because there's some energy that's kind of a little bit funky. Not as in, you know, gross or anything, but it's a bit... I don't know, a bit spicy, shall we put it like that? I'm thinking particularly of these sideways cards here. The 10 of Wands at the bottom of the deck and the 2 of Swords down there. But again, there's something very powerful emerging here. There was something I wanted to say to you and I got completely distracted myself. It'll come back, I'm sure. It was relevant as a kind of summary, but oh, yeah, well, yeah, there's a thing that we need to talk about, right? So, over the course of my practice, over the last 6 years next month, certainly that I've been here and, you know, the time before, that I was learning about the cards and whatnot properly the second time round. there are certain patterns that begin to emerge, right? You know, there's the basic meanings of the cards, and then there are things that show up in multiples. There's certain combination of cards that mean things to you, right? And over the course of years, I have noticed that whenever either the Justice card, the Wheel of Fortune, or the Judgment card show up, any two out of those three, and in some instances all three showing up, what we have are huge fucking turning points showing up. They are karmic for sure, no doubt in my mind about that. But I feel like that the karmic attribution is at its strongest when we see the presentation of the Justice card. The turning point itself is no less strong without the Justice card, but the Justice card sort of adds that karmic dimension on the top. And you can think about it in terms of a turning to meet one's destiny kind of energy, right? Now, there is no doubt in my mind whatsoever, looking at these cards here, that we are rapidly approaching the end of a particular cycle for you, which always in and of itself indicates the arrival of something new coming in, right? And I don't think there's any coincidence that it would be the Ace of Swords that's showing up for you, as you are an air sign, right? It's your ace. It's very, very powerful in and of its own right. But I think when the ace of your element shows up, there's something even more profound about that. Like, you know, if an Ace of Wands shows up for me, it's like powering up to the next level on something. So we're going to talk about the Ace of Swords in a second, but I just want to look at these major arcana cards, the Star, the Wheel of Fortune, the Judgment card, and the High Priestess, because these are significant. Like I said, these two showing up together is highly fucking significant for me. The fact that the High Priestess, which is this particular version of the High Priestess, is the one that I associate with Gemini. And then we have the Star card over here representing the future. The combination of these all together it's starting to point in a direction which maybe up until recently you weren't really sure what that looked like, right? Or it's, you know, when we're following our guiding star, there is the implication that at some point we will arrive at a destination that is being, you know, that we're being guided towards. But sometimes it is the mere act of the faith employed, the level of trust in the connection with what you see as guiding principles, and your sensitivity to them, that is representing the biggest change of all. Because in that state, I think all things are possible. There is nothing that is being excised because it's simply not possible, or you know, the kind of restrictive thinking that would stop particular experiences coming towards you is not part of the picture at all, right? So interleaving this major arcana energy that we have going on, we've got almost like the struggle that you're having as you are wrestling with these huge energies that are moving through you, and you are not changed by it, but changed by way of the work that you have done on yourself up until this point, which it's kind of all feeding each other, right? I feel like there's some kind of signal that's been sent out to God, to Source, Creator, Universe, however you want to call it, that is signaling your readiness for the next thing. And I think that you've been waiting for something to show up, a sign, a synchronicity, or maybe, you know, 57 of the above, to confirm that you're on the right track. And they have been a little elusive, Gemini. I do feel like they've been a little elusive. They've been there. But I wonder if you've needed more than just the odd thing, more than just the, you know, singular sign. It's like, well, actually, till my book is filled with all of the different ways in which I've been confirmed that I'm on the right track, I don't necessarily have the confidence that I'm moving in the right direction. But it is that inherent struggle that you're having right now, I think, that marks the transition from one state into another and accelerates this state of readiness that I'm talking about. So I don't want you to feel like you're in some way, I don't know, cocking up or not doing it properly, because that's not. It's absolutely not the case. It's just going to have my drink matches my top, entirely by accident. So we start over here with the star card. Now, like I said, represents the sign of Aquarius. Pluto's in Aquarius at the moment, and Pluto is retrograde. Is that relevant? I don't think it's as relevant as some of the other things that we're going to talk about here. Because for me, the star card here is representative of a future. Now, the fact that it's arrived here in your recent past makes me feel like you're starting to get an idea, perhaps starting to have a vision of what you would like elements of your future to look like. You don't have the whole picture by any stretch of the imagination, but there's certainly a sense that, you know, we want to be around these kinds of people and we want to be doing these kinds of things. And there's an elevated position that you seem to have arrived at. I mean, I know June was a little bit crunchy for a few people. There are certain astrological transits that were very, very uncomfortable during that time. And honestly, in July, I'm kind of side-eyeing stuff and saying, well, I feel like there's a bit more of a tipping point arriving here in July than perhaps we've been ready for. But something about what occurred for you in July has made a very clean, very authentic starting point for entertaining a vision that is altogether bigger than I think that you were entertaining before. And I want to put a lot of emphasis on the connection part of this. Now, you know, we could look at this and we could say it's connection to a particular community that seems to have begun this process to you. And possibly for some of you that might be right. But this Ten of Cups here for me feels a little bit more like, you know, the meaning that's flashing up at me is more around the idea of ending. The more about the idea of leaving behind a particular kind of community, a particular set of people, a particular set of circumstances that have been okay up until now, but aren't part of what you want moving forwards. I think for a lot of you, in whatever sense this applies, that there's been a lot of black and white thinking and not a lot of room for nuance. And if Gemini is anything, it's a nuanced thinker, right? You can't be the sign responsible for integrating so many different perspectives without a deep appreciation of nuance, spiritual or otherwise, right? And I'm seeing very black and white thinking about things. I mean, you even see it on the cards here. And you're actually perceiving the connections between things, between people, between you and a tree, between you and the universe, you and everybody else on the planet, right? And it seems to be taking on a form that maybe you're struggling to articulate, but it's giving rise to a situation whereby you realise that you are on a course that is perhaps taking you away from the people who have been representative of this kind of rather monochromatic thinking, right? No appreciation of the nuance, no appreciation of levels to things. right? On some level, you might say that the people that you've been around have been actually quite shallow thinkers. And that occasionally is something that Gemini is being accused of, because, right, there's this kind of butterfly energy, or I just want to see here, right, butterfly energy of Gemini that's kind of flitting from idea to idea to idea to idea. Not necessarily taking in any of those to themselves, but, you know, trying to explore as many things as possible. Now, I think over the last year or two, we have seen a lot of the tropes of different signs being eradicated and replaced by much higher expressions of what that sign is all about, right? So actually your partner in crime and share an axis with them, Sagittarius, has gone from being a very flitty creature to chopping wood and carrying water and knowing when to dig in rather than just bolting at the first sign of trouble, right? And I feel like Gemini's gone through some aspect of that too. On the other side of the coin, you know, the signs like Taurus, fixed earth, are bringing in a kind of fluidity and flexibility to the way that they approach the world that, quite frankly, baffles me. If you'd told me 5 years ago that Taurus would be doing this, I'd think you were pulling my leg, because, you know, because it's not what we understand Taurus to be. And I do think it's part of this huge shift in consciousness that we see going on, right? Where there have been these rather stereotypical presentations of signs for the longest time, and now we're reaching for this higher expression of it. So in your case, it is not about just the acquisition of information, trying to churn up of it, as much of it as possible at any given point. It's now about the consideration of that. What are the higher expressions of it? What does it mean? And, you know, perhaps the community that you've been around have been indicative of that lower level of thinking that you were at before. Quite simply, I feel like you've outgrown something here, Gemini. But at the same time, and this is what's really quite interesting about this butterfly, I'm not getting a sense of judgment from you about it. And getting this sense of this infinite cycle where you recognize that, you know, the people that you've been around, the circumstances that you've been in, the situations that you've been dealing with, they're all aspects of you and your experience. Like, this shift for you, Gemini, is so significant because you're an air sign and because you're in charge of integration of perspectives. Because you seem to be perceiving a broader spectrum of existence, a broader spectrum of reality than you've been open to before. Now, I realise that a lot of what I'm talking about here feels a little bit abstract, except that if this applies to you, I don't feel like it feels abstract to you in the slightest. Sometimes when we outgrow situations or we outgrow people, it's very easy to get critical of it, of them or of it, the situation, the group of people. But you haven't done that at all. And I don't know if on some level there's a feeling that perhaps it is yet possible that others may join you, right? That others will in some way or another open up to a sense of connection and integrate all these perspectives. Back to integrate all of these perspectives and recognize that they're all facets of your own mind. Tell me about this. Like, I don't know what happened in June for you, Gemini. Like, obviously I'd have to speak to each of you individually to have a look at that, but something massive shifted. It really fucking shifted for you. And I don't feel a sense of judgment coming from you that people can't see things from your perspective, because that's not their job. There's such a sense of compassion, even for the things that are not, the things, the ideas, the people that are not attaining the point that you're at. Am I getting massive teacher vibes here? Yes, yes I am. Huge teacher, leader, guide. Come on, we've been talking about this for 2 years now, you know. The Page of Pentacles is one of the 2 student cards that we have in the tarot, right? The other one would be the Page of Swords. The Page of Pentacles is focused on value, right? The appreciation of value. When a group of students walk into a classroom, hopefully the response of the teacher is not, "Huh, I know so much more than you. Nothing you have to offer me is going to be, of any use to me at all." Hopefully what they're presented with is somebody who is excited about teaching, excited about them learning, and open to hearing the younger people's perspective on things. One of the unexpected benefits of being a parent that I really didn't see coming, there were a few actually. So at the point at which my kids started recommending music to me, and it was actually good. Wow, that fucking blew my mind. Absolutely outstanding. Even the youngest now has been introducing me to stuff. Well, the 2 youngest actually. Absolutely outstanding. But the major one, the one that I'm thinking of here, is even when they're tiny, them sort of narrating the novelty of their existence at you. You get to see things with fresh eyes. Like, do I know 1 billion times more than my kids did when they were very, very small? Well, yes, obviously, of course. I've been around for ages, right? They haven't. Did their perspectives, unsullied by the experiences, change my thinking, change my perspective? Yes, it fucking did. Over and over and over again. It's one of the reasons why I say my children are, my greatest teachers. All of this to say, Gemini, I'm getting exactly the same fucking vibes here from you that I recognise in the openness to what my children have to say, right? I use the word outgrown, but I'm not entirely sure it's accurate, because there is a very real benefit in still hearing what people who are not on your level are saying. And this is what I mean, right? That this is why there's no criticism of it, because it's informing. Now, there's something about the synthesis that you're able to do that is next level intelligent. Here, Gemini. It's like you're able to stretch in both directions, right? Forwards and backwards. The forwards is for you and the pushing towards the star, whatever it is, and the backwards is the people behind you. Like, you seem to be opening yourself up as a conduit, fully, Gemini. Now, Gemini's always been a bit of a social butterfly, right? And so this idea of being a conduit that can move between groups of people is not unusual for Gemini in and of itself. But there's something very, very powerful about what's coming into you and what you are letting out the other end. And I think the extent to which people choose to do something with that or not isn't really the point here. What the point is that you are holding this conduit state. Something quite magician-like about that, I realise, as I'm moving around my my arms like that. Magician is Gemini energy. We talk about the magician being a lightning rod. There's something about this energy here that smacks of a spontaneous healing. I don't like the phrase spiritual upgrade. There's something icky. It gives me the ick. Same as spiritual downloads and stuff like that, right? But there seems to have been this really rather remarkable synthesis that has occurred in your mind that now is allowing you to straddle two worlds. And this, Gemini, is exactly what you are designed to do. But there doesn't seem to be any of your own personal bullshit in the way. This is why it feels like a spontaneous healing. But definitely an upward thrust in the level that your mind is operating at, right? So all of this has just happened in the recent past. Where we find ourselves now, where you find yourself now, Gemini, is here. Now, like I said, the Wheel of Fortune and the Judgment card do augur big changes, mate, but they're showing up here in your current energy rather than in what's coming towards you. And I think it's because the integration of what all of this means, the synthesis of what all of this means, is happening now. It isn't necessarily happening in the rest of July. What do I mean by that? Well, one of the things about having loads of hair, right? The hair falls out and then then you feel like there's something crawling on you, and there's not. But sometimes there is. The Judgment card in some decks is called Awakenings. It talks of spiritual ascension. It talks about moving up to the next level. It talks about a very necessary integration of all sorts of things, assimilation of all sorts of things. In this case, ideas that lead you to an entirely new way of seeing the world. For me, the Ace of Swords is incredibly fucking powerful because the mind, let's say our brain specifically, let's get specific with our terminology. The brain is simply a computer. It's like a bio supercomputer that effectively just interprets electrical signals, and from what it interprets, we have the idea that this is solid, this is not, I am warm, I can't hear anything other than my own voice at the moment, my ring light is quite bright. Like, all of these are electrical impulses that are coming in through my senses, and my brain is working it all out, right? Even the fact that I'm looking at this camera right here, like, I know, because science tells us, that my eyes actually are seeing this upside down. It is my brain that is putting it the right way up. Like, holy shit, that's incredible, right? Now, if that is the hardware, to kind of roll with the computer metaphor, even though I don't really like it very much, and if that in and of itself at the moment is the same as it has always been, which I think it is, I think the big DNA changes that solar radiation are going to force haven't quite taken place yet, then what you are experiencing is some sort of new software. Which is helping you run much more smoothly, much more cleanly than you ever have before. And one of the things then that's changing as a result of this is that you seem to be accessing a higher level of truth than you've been able to reach before. Now, there are still blind spots. We see that with this Two of Swords. And I think the biggest blind spot is, what does it mean? Because Gemini likes to make sense of everything, right? This pursuit of new information, it's not just because you like to gossip. I mean, like, the less healed version of Gemini is renowned for enjoying gossiping about people. But it's so that we can reach a point of understanding. And I think what's happened to you is not something quite that you understand. The blind spot is, what do I do with it? What does it mean? Where is it taking me? None of which I think you're getting satisfactory answers for. But at the end of the day, and this is where the really interesting stuff is happening for you, I do think a big part of the process is the realization that it doesn't actually matter. This is why I think you've gone, you've hit some sort of higher level here, Gemini. I love this Wheel of Fortune because there's something kind of unpredictable about it. It's not a smooth wheel. Even the string that we see all over the card here, it's not linear, right? It's not going in nice, neat straight lines. It's certainly not going in nice, neat circles. It's erratic. And if we are to follow, the coloured string to see where it leads from one end to the other, we're going to have to go on a few little side quests here, backwards and round, and so on and so forth. But it's being overseen by this owl here. And I think what's really, really impressive about this is that the symbol of understanding, of intelligence, right, of consciousness, is the sun. And in every single card, the sun does not have the dominant position. It's only actually shown up here. Well, yeah, so down here, it's at the bottom. It's not at the top illuminating everything, it's down here. In this card, the sun is eclipsed by the moon. It's still shining, still doing its thing, but the moon is covering it up. It's a blind spot, it's what we don't see. It doesn't even feature in the High Priestess. Your conscious level of understanding what has happened to you is not actually essential. I would say it's almost detrimental at this point, because instead we have you moving from a place that is intuitive first, sense making after. High moon on both of these cards. We've got the owl overseeing everything. We've got the intuitive wisdom of the High Priestess, who is a conduit. She's a vessel that receives. Gemini energy is very active, right? It's given to be masculine energy, so it's about the pursuit of stuff. Gemini externally expresses, right? Take what's inside and is always projecting it outwards. Fire and air both do the same thing. Water and earth pull into themselves. And so part of this new perspective for you is not about whether you have all the facts, whether they are logical, whether you can evidence every single thing. And, Gemini usually comes with receipts, screenshots, and absolutely photographic memory, not photographic, but you know what I mean, when it comes to recounting conversations, literally word by word and the exact tone that was used and all this sort of stuff. That shit's imprinted in Gemini. But that doesn't seem to be important now. We've got the energy of Jupiter in this Wheel of Fortune here, and to be honest, the High Priestess is ruled by, it's ruled by Pisces, and Pisces is ruled by Jupiter. We've got kind of double Jupiter energy here. Now, at the very least, we could say that there's a kind of luckiness about it, but it's more than that. There's a flow here. You feel like you have flowed, you've opened yourself to the flow of the universe. And you might say, maybe you haven't, right? Maybe there's this thing that's foxing you about it, but you are open to the flow. That's why you see the intrinsic benefit in everything. Because you're cracked wide open, Gemini. I don't think you intended to do it. I don't think that was the thing that you were looking for. Maybe you didn't even really know what you were looking for. Nevertheless, it has shown up. So Jupiter expands. And I feel like Jupiter is expanding into this space where you are comfortable not knowing. Because there's a different kind of information that's flowing into you now, Gemini. Now, like I said before, like the Judgment card makes the request of us that we make some big decisions. Right? They're usually life-changing decisions when the Judgment card shows up, and we're able to make those decisions and go in those directions because we have changed. A previous version of us would not be able to walk this path, but that's the point, right? And now what you seemingly have access to, what you can observe without needing desperately to push your mind into the middle of it to understand, keep pushing at the edges of stuff. Is pushing you towards something that feels, this Judgment card feels less like making a big life-changing decision and a little bit more like hearing a call and responding, even though you're not entirely sure what it means. So it's, the High Priestess means you are moving from a deeply intuitive place right now. And you know, this Wheel of Fortune here, it's like, I don't need to really know where I'm going. It's fine. Like, I'm going to follow the string, I'm going to follow the call, it'll take me wherever it takes me. And if I take this wildly circuitous route from from here to here via 3 times around the circle, that's absolutely fine, because there's obviously supposed to be things that I see, hear, feel, experience along the way, which will make my arrival here so much more valuable than it would be if I'd gone in a straight line from A to B. I got this sense of Sagittarius discovering a true flow state in July. It's a mutable sign like you, or double-bodied as we call it in ancient astrology. And the point of double-bodied signs is that they're a little bit of both, right? They govern either the transition from the light to the dark or the dark to the light. Light to lighter, dark to darker. You're designed to have a foot in both worlds. And you seem to have hit it. Now, this Two of Swords becomes more important over here. Because in the Two of Swords, where we have the blind spot, we don't really know what we don't know. We don't have all the information that we need. We're kind of certain details are obfuscated from us, and there's a lack of understanding, but that's okay, we're accepting it. It's beginning to turn here when we see the card showing up sideways. I feel like it's eventually going to end up here, which is great, because this is being aware of what you didn't know that you didn't know, right? As it comes into your consciousness. So there's a great expansion that goes on here, right? Not quite there yet. And this is important. I'll come to why in a second. The Queen of Wands here who helps us understand our underlying drives and motivations and passions and why we fucking do what it is that we do in the first place, is taking a step back. Because the queens are at the internalized subjective experience of whatever suit they represent, right? They help us understand the element. In the case of the Queen of Swords, your queen, she helps us work out what we actually think about something. The Queen of Cups will make us work out what we actually feel about something. In amongst other things, they do other things besides, right? But this is a fundamental point for me in terms of what the queens do. So here, before the king begins the process of action on stuff, he first heeds the information that's forthcoming from the queen, who has spent the time feeling her way around what all of this is, why we do the things that we do, what we're expecting to achieve, what we're hoping to achieve. Unpicking our motivations, unpicking our actions to make sure that they're coming from a very, very clean and healthy place. I think the fact that the Queen of Wands has taken a step back here means a lot. Because this Three of Wands is about action. It's the externalization of what had been contemplative up until this point, translating into a doing of things. Now, sometimes the Three of Wands can represent changed behaviour, but it feels like the journey of 1,000 miles beginning with a single step, right? I'm staring into that colourful abyss right in the middle of this, and this is the potential of all things that can be achieved if you just start walking that way. It doesn't have form at this point, but that's okay, because you don't know where you're going and you don't know why you're going there, right? That's these two cards here. And yet, nevertheless, forward motion is being achieved. We've got double tens here representing like the things that are coming to completion, but I love that Ten of Wands because it takes what is very difficult energy and it's turned it into something artistic and beautiful. It's a Saturn card, and yes, Saturn can be a massive fucking pain in the arse sometimes, but when you learn the lessons, when you get it, Saturn bestows blessings. And the idea of the Ten of Wands being kind of peak frustration is one that it's one that's suggested by a lot of the imagery across lots of different tarot decks. But some of them look at it differently. This is one of them. And it says, it's all been for a point. It's all been for a reason, right? The way that you've done things has been right for this period of your life, but now we're doing things differently. There's a level of mastery here with this Ten of Wands that you're being asked to move forwards with. Without a map, without any sense of where you're going, just following the intuitive pull that is pulling you in a particular direction. You don't need to know the answer, you don't need to know why you're doing it other than you are. Six of Wands at the bottom of the deck is a beautiful card. It's actually Jupiter in Leo, and it represents that feeling of, well, it represents success, victory. But even in the butterfly, meaning managing to elevate itself above the wands, we've got this idea of metamorphosis and transformation, even transcendence going on. If you've hit the end of the line with this particular run through the wands, and you've mastered it so beautifully that you've managed to fashion stars out of it, stars, then there is a confirmation of transcendence here. There is a confirmation of you winning and being on the right track. And here's the thing, Gemini, right? This seems very fucking vague to me. But I also feel like if you're a Gemini for whom this reading applies, you're recognizing every single bit of this. And no amount of information that I could give you would actually turn out to be that helpful, because the whole fucking point is that you're good in moving forwards without it. You're good in not needing to know the whys and wherefores. Everything will display itself in time, no doubt. Right? And even just that perspective there is enough to shift that to that. Because that's new for you. There's no sense of wanting to rush anything at all. There's just hitting that flow. This is fucking outstanding, Gemini. Like, I can't pretend to understand fully what's going on here for you. But this feels nothing short of magical. So I'm going to go over to the extended now. You're very welcome to join me over there if you would like to do so. You can do that on Circle, you can do that on Selfie. The links for both are in the description box below. I'd be delighted to see you in either place if you fancied showing up. But whatever happens, like what has happened to you recently, what you are still experiencing right now. I'm not fucking about when I say we're talking about ascension level stuff. We knew this big shift in consciousness was coming. We've been zeroing on it for quite a long time. And when I did the June readings, I saw that June was a huge month for this energy to start the process of bubbling up to the surface, where it could be seen and perceived by people. Not necessarily understood, but that's okay, because we don't need that. What's important for you at this point is that you allow yourself to just... It's not even a void, right? I was there, stare into the void and let it take you where it will. But like, there's not a void here. There's all things here. All you need to do is open up to it. You don't have to force anything. You don't have to initiate anything. You don't have to do anything. You just need to let it flow, need to let it happen. There's something very experiential for you this month. All right, I'm going to go see if we can't shed some light on this over at the extended. So know that I love you all very, very much, and I'll see you soon.